All week long, we've been looking at the Contagious theme with balloons. And the pink balloon has always represented us. Today, when we look at opposition, here is the plan of the enemy on our life. That God fills us with life. Zoe life is that we have the breath of God in us and we're living vitality. We're living fully alive. So Satan doesn't want that. He comes along with his different schemes and he wants to pop that. Now we have to understand, greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. So sometimes the opposition is not the strong. It's simply waiting for us to deflate. And many times we deflate ourselves. When we're looking at opposition, we need to realize we need to continually go back and say, God, fill me, protect me, surround me, because only in that is there life. Hi there, my name's Dan.
And I'm Susie, and together we're Duzie.
And this is day 5
of Contagious. So welcome TeenStreet Nets. Thank you for joining us for this day 5 of our 4-day and extension of our Contagious TeenStreet Week. And for those of us who have been following on the short blurbs of Contagious, today is Opposition Day.
Now let me go back to where we started. Contagious starts when we care for people. And then it grows as we delight in God.
And yesterday we talked about our character. Like a tree growing strong and tall. At TeenStreet, we talked about vision, having our vision for those people around us.
And today the focus is opposition. If we're going to be contagious, we can't be surprised with the fact that there will be opposition.
We'll have opposing forces. Now, if we are going with God, let's say going with God is in this direction. Going with God, and here we are, and together we're with God. We're caring for people. We're delighting in God. We're growing our character. It is obvious that we're going to come against opposition because Satan is coming this way, and we have the evil schemes of the evil one. It's spiritual warfare. So God's going this direction, and we're going with him. We need to expect opposition, and today is about knowing what that opposition is for each one of us personally and gearing up on the outside and on the inside.
The interesting thing is right now we're standing next to a river. And here's the interesting thing with the river. If you're going to cross a river, you have to be able to put your feet down. You have to be able to remain
and
standing, because the current is going to be going against you. When you pick up your feet, you will automatically go with the current. The same thing with opposition. There is always going to be a current against us. We don't have to go looking for it, but we are moving forward. We as followers of Jesus, if we're going to be contagious, are going against the current. And we dare not lift up our feet, because if so, the current will take us along. You need to realize that going home or being home, you're in the river. The current is against you. Don't be surprised that suddenly maybe you're doing things you used to do, or opposition's coming from every side. That's normal because you are contagious.
Let's do an experiment together. Take your finger, your pointer finger, and point it straight up. Reach as high as you can into the sky and begin to trace a clock. So you start at 12 o'clock, go to 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, back to 12 o'clock. Now keep that finger tracing the clock in a clockwise position. Keep your finger going straight up. Notice the clock. Now bring your finger down. Keep it going in this position. Down at about your belly button. And now take it down even farther, keeping your finger straight up and down. Keep it going. Now take a look. What direction is the clock going? For me, it's going 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's counterclockwise. I have not changed at all the direction of my finger. Bring it back up again. And this is a perspective experience, because depending on how we think about it, it can be positive and beautiful, or it can be negative.
When I was a little boy, I wanted to learn tricks. And I had this book, and I opened up the book, and it showed me a trick with 3 ropes. So I went to my father's garage, and I found some of his rope. And I made sure there were 3 exactly the same length, because that's what the book said. It's a trick with 3 the same length. And I measured them out. I made sure they were exactly the same. But then I read a little bit farther, and I realized that they needed to be 3 different lengths. Well, I was really stuck because my father only had that much rope, and I had not cut them 3 different lengths. I had actually cut them to be all the same length. So at a very young age, I realized sometimes in life there's opposition. Sometimes things don't go your way. Sometimes you make mistakes, and sometimes there are mistakes made on your behalf. Where you think it all should be like this, the fact is that very quickly you realize sometimes life requires something totally different. Today we're looking at opposition. How to actually live when things don't go your way.
Here we are on a river in the jungle with this covering, this safe place, this shelter. It's really giving us the picture of taking our stand. In Ephesians 6, verses 10 to 18, it talks about stand with the full armor of God, because our struggle is not flesh and blood, but principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness. And so what do we need to do? We need to put on the full armor of God, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the feet of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, and prayer. And these are what we fight with when we're in the midst of opposition.
We've been talking about opposition. We've been looking at the character of Nehemiah. And in the first 3 chapters, you have Nehemiah, who finds out that the walls are down, the gates are burned in Jerusalem. It breaks his heart. He's dedicated to the mission. His reputation, his character is so good that the king lets him go and blesses him. He sits down with God and he makes sure he's delighting in God. And then he gets there, he looks and he sees the walls and he says, let's start building. And they start building. Then the next 3 chapters, chapter 4, chapter 5, and chapter 6, is all about opposition. It starts out with opposition from external sources outside of their community. There's Sanballat and there's Tobiah, and they are so against this wall and these gates being rebuilt that they start off by making fun of people, opposition through feeling inferior. And then that doesn't work, so they go on and say, we're going to create war against you, we're going to attack you. So terror starts to come and they feel inferior, but that doesn't work. But then there's also a community opposition. Within the Jewish community, there were people of prominence, there were nobles that were taking people, their own people, enslaved, holding land as hostage. It was unjust and it was corrupt, and people couldn't build a wall because they felt no freedom. But then there also came a time where mind was the opposition. And we have this picture of Nehemiah, and they're coming to Nehemiah, and they're saying, come on with this, join our side, switch sides. Well, that's crazy, but he starts thinking, is this right? No, this isn't right. And it goes on, and they begin intimidating him. We're going to send a letter to the king that actually says, you are against him. So there's a lie, but he feels his reputation is at stake, is in jeopardy. But he keeps going. Then there becomes the last, and maybe the hardest one, was a spiritual opposition. The prophets were actually paid to intimidate Nehemiah. Come into the temple. Get away from all this. This is what God has said. And Nehemiah had to say, no, this is not what God has said. God has said, rebuild the wall. So these different external community, mental, and spiritual opposition, we have to stand against them even today. Because sometimes we just feel that the ceiling is so low, everyone's against us. But we need to make sure that we stand. We take our stand against the devil's scheme. Because he uses anything to stop our progress.
My opposition many times comes in my mind. So sometimes I'm my own opposition because of what I think and of my self-talk. For example, many times I get into a situation and I think, I'm not enough. I compare myself to others, or I compare myself to what even I could be. And so because of that, my opposition causes me to just not even show up. So I am all inside and I'm struggling with it. And what I found helps me in this opposition is to know the truth and let the truth set me free. And the truth is, because Jesus is in me, I am enough. This is what I have, but I have the power of the Spirit in me. I don't have to compare myself to other people. And so I can show up. Ta-da! Here I am.
Sometimes our opposition comes from relationships or actions. I remember when I lived in Poland, I had this really good friend, Dave. And Dave was going to take over the leadership from us. But something happened and there was a disconnection. And I was upset with him and he was upset with me, and my action was not right. I felt accused. I felt like I was in a cage. And so I responded by, when I had the phone call, I hung up on him. I just ended the conversation. And then I thought, oh, that was really stupid. So I called him back and he hung up on me. And there was years there that we didn't have a good relationship anymore. Because of my actions and relationships, sometimes the opposition just happens. All we have to do is we have to specifically step in and not let relationships get destroyed, and be very careful of our actions when it comes to opposition.
So this is day 5 in TeenStreet Philippines. You know that this is your weekend to meet with your net group or people around you. Gather them together, watch this video, and then do your net group afterwards from your book. All week we've been talking about trees. Our contagious pictures, also trees. And here we see a number of trees. One of the things that makes trees strong is opposition or wind. Palm trees have little straws inside, and when the wind comes, they bend and they support each other, and they're able to move even in the midst of opposition. Trees, when there's wind and storms around, they strengthen their roots and they strengthen the different parts of their tree so that they can be strong. And you also can be strong, even in the midst of opposition.
One way we stand against opposition is we have time with God every day. Not because it's a habit or because God's going to like us more, but it makes us stronger in the Word of God, that we can stand against the devil's schemes.
Yeah, so if you want to be contagious, we invite you to press down deep into your God time. One of the ways we do that is the Big Adventure. There's 4 parts to the Big Adventure. Time with God in the Bible, just stopping and listening, to reflect, and to pray. And we have at TeenStreet given you 30 days of a big adventure, a contagious big adventure. So we want to encourage you to continue on that through the book of Acts. If you're listening and you weren't at TeenStreet, please write to us or make a comment and give us your email, and we can email you this 30-day big adventure in the 4 parts. Again, time in the Bible, listening, prayer, and reflection.
What I would say is, if you are in a net, or if you have some friends that are going through, make it into a game. Keep asking each other, what day are you on?
What are
day
you
are
learning?
You on? And when you reach 30, celebrate with a party. We always do this with young people. We have a pizza party always when someone completes a 30-day challenge.
Revolution! If you're going to be fully alive, put your roots down deep and find people to do. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to stand your ground so that your life in the midst of spiritual battle will remain strong. Just like Nehemiah, it took a whole community to build a strong wall. And we want to be available to you to provide resources for you and your community to stand strong in Jesus against opposition and just to stand strong in life. So if you would like to have some of the resources we've been talking about, or we put on the list for us to send you more resources, send your email to us at connect@duzie.com, and we will send you the 30-day big adventure and put you on the list for other resources when they become available and send you the links. So we want to encourage you in opposition to remain strong.